Well, many Canadians these days are Facebooking, or text messaging, or even flickering. But have you found yourself Twittering yet? No, that isn't a symptom of anything. It is just the latest way to communicate quickly. The Twitter service combines social networking, instant messaging, and wireless communication. And here to tell us how it works is our resident tech expert, Jesse Hirsh. Hello.
Hey, Maribel.
Are you all a Twitter about Twitter?
I am. Initially, when I first heard Twitter a few months ago, I was a little cynical, but I've grown quite affectionate towards it, and it's part of this genre called microblogging, which is really for people like me whose attention deficit disorder has gotten to such a bad point that I'm not going to read a blog. I want one or two sentences that really get to the heart of whatever the subject matter is.
Wow, okay, so if this has won you over, I mean, you've seen everything. So what is it about that? Do we really want to know that my best friend is standing in line at the grocery store reading the tabloids?
Well, I think it's a little bit further than the superficial. I think when people consciously try to express themselves in 140 characters or less, poetics start to emerge. People actually are conscious about their prose. And I think also there's a level of comedy that the genre, because it's playful, it's all about pokes and little, one-liners that I think take the genre, the Facebooking, the MySpace, to a much more level, that it respects our time, that we're not going to read through your profile and go through all of your crazy notes. But if you sum up, let's say, your reaction to a news event in 2 sentences, it's more likely that people will read it.
It sounds like you're describing it as an art form. Actually.
Well, I think it can be, and I think one example, Anna Marie Cox, who's a reporter for Time magazine, is actively using Twitter to cover the Republican presidential campaign. Ooh. And some of her missives, I mean, she's already writing articles for the Time magazine and for their website, but some of her one-sentence missives are really quite brilliant. To give an example, she had one where she's off to a debate in Florida, fell asleep on the bus, arrived at the stop, Robert Nowak's beside me, I'll never sleep again. Right? Like really sort of quips like that. Robert Novak's this rather old right-wing pundit in the United States. But it's that type of really narrowing down to the essence of a matter, I think, is part of the appeal.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe we should fully explain what this is, too, for people who aren't really into social networking, may not even be on Facebook. So Twitter exactly, and I apologize for having to backtrack, but what exactly is it?
Well, it's really, people who use Facebook are used to the status message. It's sort of taking the essence of social networking and putting it to what you're doing right then. So a lot of people use Twitter, for example, via their cell phone. So another way to describe it is mobile blogging. You might be, let's say, see an incident with police tasering someone in Vancouver. You would then put in your Twitter, just saw a tasering downtown in Vancouver, Governor General nearby. Right? Okay. It's this type of really fragmented reporting and fragmented diarizing of basically creating a journal in real time is what differentiates this from other services, although technically it's very simple. It's just 140 lines of text that are distributed to people who are your friends, as it were.
And it's different from text messaging because there are more people that you can send that message to.
Well, and because it has a public dynamic that for most people, while you can set your profile as private, most people are very public. So everything they say can be seen in the public timeline, and there are a lot of people who, as a type of trend watching, watch what people are talking about randomly around the world or have specific alerts. So if their brand or company is mentioned amongst all these tweets, which is what an individual Twitter user does, a tweet, they can then see this activity and go, oh, look, people are talking about my product.
And is there, I mean, it sounds like there's a wide range of uses for this thing, but is there an ultimate use for this one particular thing?
Well, I mean, it's very social. While there are politicians like Barack Obama and John Edwards who are themselves using Twitter to basically create an intimacy amongst their supporters so they feel that they're really with the candidate, there are a lot of actually health science researchers who are looking at Twitter along the lines of emergency response. Take SARS, for example. In terms of that type of infectious disease spreading across a population, they feel that Twitter could allow for a type of real-time emergency alert to really notify people as the type of threats that are out there. But also news agencies, CBC News in particular, are using Twitter for news alerts so that if, for example, a soldier is killed in Afghanistan, they'll use Twitter as a way to let Canadians know, so they might tune into Newsworld for more coverage.
It sounds like this one's got some real sticking power then.
Well, it does. I think it's not a fad in the sense that people are using it in very professional and very social ways. So as more people gravitate to it, I think it really, as I said, there's a poetics and prose to it that adds value. So instead of the cacophony that we see in the blogosphere, in the the internet at large, I think this forces people to use language in a really clever and smart way.
Wow, Facebook just sounds so yesterday now compared to Twitter. Jesse Hirsh, always good to talk to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Maribel.